good whatever time of day it may be if you're watching this, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. Today's episode is a game preview of a game I'm probably way more excited about than I should be, with the Chargers and Patriots meeting up this weekend. The Chargers have done a great job the last few weeks of preserving and saving their season. They're on a little bit of a roll. The Patriots seem to have righted the ship, simplifying their defence, and Tom Brady's playing at an incredibly high level. Weapons around him producing. Really looking forward to this one. Enjoy watching this Chargers team play, and Patriots is, people give him a bad rep because it's Tom Brady, and I'm sick of this team winning as well. But man, make the most of watching Tom Brady while he's here, because he's very good at this whole football thing. As always, I'm going to be going through what I believe to be the key matchups in this game as I sort of analyse both teams' rosters heading into this one. Offer up a game plan for both teams on both the defensive and offensive sides of the ball, and how I see this game going. So we're going to start with the key matchup. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Chargers defense and the Patriots offense. So if we start with the Pats offense, of course you've got Tom Brady playing very well this year. Offense has slowed down a little in the last few weeks, but they haven't had to be as dominant since the defense seems to have got things going. But Brady is playing at exceptionally high level. Got good weapons around him. Brandon Cooks, Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola, all playing pretty well. All have a valuable role. Gronkowski's managed to stay somewhat healthy. He's been a real force. Cooks as well really seems to have started to develop a chemistry with Brady. He's becoming more dangerous. The run game is still a little bit... It's not particularly overwhelming, but at least it's present. Those guys are very, as we know, more than able to help out in the passing game. The mass platoon of Gillislee, James White, Dion Lewis and co. It's an interesting group, causes a lot of matchup problems in the passing game. And then an offensive line that I feel is really struggling, particularly at the tackle position. Nate Solder not having his best year, and Marcus Cannon's been a bit of a turnstile for them. The interior's playing okay, and that's really the key. That's where you've got to protect Brady. He's more than capable of adjusting and getting rid of the ball very quickly, which I think we've seen over the last couple of weeks. I think it's an adjustment that this team's made because they didn't want Brady taking the kind of hits that he was, particularly in the first month of the season when they were a far more vertical attack than what we've seen them sort of play the last couple of games. On the defensive side, the tough bit of this matchup is simply the tackle position. It's been the biggest issue the Pats offense has had, and they've got their toughest test of the season as the spectacular duo of Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram come to town. Man, these two have been fantastic. Both had a little bit of a slow start to the year, but him and Ingram piling up sacks, pressures, wrecking games. They're absolutely fantastic. They're not quite as strong in the middle, but Corey Legit's an okay player. Brandon Meebane's solid. Getting better play than I would have expected from linebacker. It's a bit of a no-name group, but Jatavius Brown's playing quite well. Good play from the secondary as well. Casey Hayward's been exceptional once again for them. Desmond King's been chipping in, particularly with sacks from the nickel position. Trevor Williams, and they're getting pretty good play from Jaleel Adai at the safety spot. It's not an overpowering group defensively, but those two pass rushers do more than enough to put heat on teams. They're just incredibly dangerous. For me, the issues you get in this matchup, if you're the Chargers, I don't know how they match up with Gronkowski. You feel like Casey Hayward's got to be the guy playing Brandon Cooks because he's the guy who gives you that explosive element. I could possibly even see Desmond King possibly playing as a kind of nickel linebacker type player to deal with Gronkowski. So I think he's got the size and the physicality to attempt to deal with him, but the lack of experience could prove to be an issue. Certainly going to need some safety help there. The difficulty you get, of course, with this team is you've got Gronk and you've got Cooks. if they're on opposite sides of the field, that puts a lot of pressure on your safeties. It almost forces you into a too deep look. I think the Chargers just have to respect those two's ability and basically do that, because otherwise, this team's going to be able to get up after them, unless they want to try and bait the Patriots just to try and unleash those guys. Now, the one big thing for me is how the Pats offense is going to try and neutralise those two ends. They're not going to be able to block them straight up. There's going to need to be help. Now, Gronk's a fantastic blocker. However, that, of course, takes him out of the equation in the passing game. So I think that's something we may see, because you don't really want Dwayne Allen in there blocking. He's not bad at it, but I don't trust him against those two. So that's going to be a tough one. So I expect to see a lot of the dinky-dunk version of the Patriots in this game. Chris Hogan, I think he'll be featured a lot. Him, Danny Amendola, both running those kind of option routes underneath. I think as well as that, you probably want to stay away from Hayward a little bit if you can. He's been more than happy to target Cooks, but I don't expect to see Cooks going deep too much against a ball-hawking player like Hayward. Patriots very much focused on ball control. It is what I'm expecting to see here. See a lot of passes to the backs. I think it's going to be that kind of a game. Again, an effort to slow down those two pass rushers, try and minimise their impact on it. I expect to see a lot of James White in this one. A lot of Dion Lewis, because he's kind of the guy that is, I think, the best all-rounder in terms of offering a run game and a passing game when he's on the field. So I expect to see a lot of that, a lot of these option routes from the slot from Hogan and Amendola. I expect to see Gronk used running deep a lot in this one, and I think that'll be primarily to throw it to when he's one-on-one, which I'm not expecting to see enormously often, but also to open things up for those guys underneath. And I'm expecting to see Brandon Cooks utilised on the short stuff, trying to get those yards after the catch, because I think he's going to be a heavy focus of the game plan, and throwing Hayward's way to me is a bit of a risk. I expect to see some connections there regardless. Brady and Cooks have become a very dangerous duo. If you're the Chargers, I think you've got to just play a kind of classic cover 2 against this Patriots team. Blitzing Brady is always a huge risk, and the games I think where he struggles the most are when a team is able to just get after him with a good 4-man rush and limit big play opportunities. And that's what I think this Chargers team is going to set up to do, and I think they can do a good job of. Once again, Ingram, Bosa, mix those two around, move them about. They've done some nice things with Ingram in particular, moving him so he's attacking the middle or off the edge. So I think that's going to be a key part of their game plan. Bosa's just to go, just stick him on the edge and let him go. They're going to need to be focusing on not getting beat by the big play, so I expect to see the safeties pretty deep in this one. I do think this opens things up for those running backs and those underneath plays. This is where sure tackling and good disciplined defense will come into play. That's going to be the focal point, I think, if you're the Chargers. If you can tackle well and force some errors, some penalties, I expect to see some holds in this one to stop those guys killing Tom. Because I've got no doubt the Patriots will have some plans for how to deal with it. I expect to see a lot of chipping. Even if it's from Gronk before he goes out on a route or a running back. I'm expecting to see a heck of a lot of that, particularly with regards to Bosa. I'm expecting him to get a lot of that stuff aimed his way in this one. But you just got to try and make the most of the opportunities when you get them. Don't give up anything cheap, because Brady will take advantage. Expect to see the Patriots controlling the ball on the offensive side, and just trying to get this rush tired. I expect to see draws, I expect to see screens, I expect to see little dump off passes over their heads, all the things that you can imagine to try and slow those guys down and try and keep the chains moving before eventually trying to take some big shots. But for the most part, last year's Patriots offense, that's what I'm expecting to see. To see the Chargers trying to just keep everything in front of them, let the front four do their thing, and just hope to force some big plays, but don't beat yourselves, because so many teams do it when they play the Patriots. And yeah, really good matchup. Looking forward to that side of the ball. On the opposite side, we've got the enigma that is the Chargers offense. Rivers having an inconsistent year. It doesn't look as dynamic. moving around, ad-libbing as much as he used to, but still can be effective. I think he's evolved into... He's always been a pocket passer, but I think at this point keeping him in the middle of the field is more essential than ever. The receiving group, I don't know if we're going to see Mike Williams in this one, but Keenan Allen's having a really nice year. I expect to see him be a major focus in this game, but I think the tight ends, Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates, I think they're going to be a heavy focus, particularly with Donta Hightower out. I think this linebackers core is there to be taken advantage of. They're pretty explosive with Terrell Williams and Travis Benjamin, so I think that's something that the Patriots are going to have to keep an eye on. The offensive line has started to pull it together. They're not the best group. Russell Okung's having an okay year. Joe Barksdale is he's okay at right tackle. I think you can beat him with speed rush, but the Patriots can't really offer that. And then you've got the interior, which is doing okay, but it's not the most talented bunch. Fortunately for them, the Patriots defense has not been great in terms of the front four. Melvin Gordon is a dynamic all-round type back, so it'll be fun to see him in this game. And this is one of the few teams that uses a full-back a lot, so we'll see what Derek Watt can do against the Patriots linebackers in this one. As for the Pats defense, as underwhelming a Patriots group as we've probably seen in recent memory, or even distant memory, come to think of it, in the Brady Belichick era. Trey Flowers really the key guy on the defensive line. If he's not getting pressure, it doesn't feel like anyone's going to. The other guys just feel like just guys. The defensive tackle position, I don't feel they've been getting great production from. Branch has really been poor this year. Malcolm Brown's not playing to a particularly high level either. Teams have been able to run on them this year. Of course, Donta Hightower being out now is a big issue. They've got some experience there. Van Noy's, got some games under his belt in this league. David Harris has all the experience you could want, but there's just not a lot of athleticism in this group. That's my concern. They looked awful slow at the start of the year. I think this new, more zone-based, simple scheme has really helped them, but I still think there's matchups there you can take advantage of. Whether Stephon Gilmore plays this week, I don't know. I think they could do with having him back. As much as he struggled early in the year, and a lot of Patriots fans might not want him back, he's a talented player, and I think he'll benefit from the simple scheme that they're playing at the minute. Butler's been much better as a result. Some of the absurd stuff that we saw about him being, one of the absolute top corners in the league, or that ridiculous Gil Brandt piece in the offseason, he was like one of the top 20 corners of all time. We saw what in man. He's not on that level. He's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but this is his forte, and a good play from the safety position. Devin McCourty, again, playing much faster, much better. He looks like he's in command of this defence again, like he did last season. I like the matchups here, though, for the Chargers. I think they've got a good possession receiver in Keenan Allen, who I think will be able to feast on a defence that plays in this way. Rivers has seen it all. A team that can't get pressure, I think, is going to have a tough time dealing with this receiving group. They're not incredibly talented, but there's a good mix of skills there. Antonio Gates, I can't see anyone defending him enormously effectively unless they're happy to bring McCourty down into the box. I don't think they'll do that. You're going to see a lot of 2 and 4 deep zones in this game because of the speed threat you get with Travis Benjamin and Terrell Williams on this Chargers team, and Rivers is always willing to throw the ball deep. Allen, I think he's going to be able to get some stuff going underneath. Hunter Henry, he'll continue to be a red zone threat. I think Gates is the guy they trust more in between the 20s, but I think both of those guys can make some plays in this one. The X factor whenever you play this Chargers team is how you deal with Melvin Gordon, because this team, when he gets it going in the run game, this team becomes very difficult to stop, because obviously he can contribute in the passing game. He's one of the better receiving backs in the league, very good in the screen game, and very good after the catch. But he runs with a lot more power than I think people would have expected coming out of college, and especially after that pretty dismal rookie year he had. And I think he could be set up for big success in this game, and I think he's going to be the focal point in terms of the Patriots' defensive game plan. I think we're going to see him playing in a manner where you're going to see some pretty heavy stacks in the middle of the field from the defensive line, just trying to take away those A gaps and B gaps. And I think they're going to try and force Gordon outside, because I think he's happy to try and bounce runs out, but I don't think it's his best skill. I think he's at his best when he's a power downhill type runner. But I think they can rely on getting him to go outside, relying on the safeties and the corners to rally up and make tackles on him. That's what I'm expecting to see. To me, if that's the case, that's where you get the ability to use the tight ends really effectively. You can try and get them going downfield, help out on some of those, or even just try and pass when you can see them, use some heavy run sets. See if that's what the Patriots are trying to do. If so, pass out of it. Easier to block up when you know they're all trying to come from the middle, and then try and find those guys on the outside. Try and find those two tight ends underneath the linebackers, who I just don't think are going to be able to run with these guys, even with Antonio Gates at such an advanced age in his career. That's what I'm expecting the Pats to do. I expect the Chargers to adjust to it pretty effectively. However, it does take away Gordon's best element for me. So then I think you can attack that though by having him catch some of those flare routes, some of those screen routes, screen type plays, and get down the field that way. The Patriots, I think, will be happy for them to do that. They're going to trust their guys to rally to the ball, and I think it's going to be a very conservative game plan from New England, where they'll just figure, their offense is going to do its thing. If they can stop the explosive plays from the Chargers, because that's when this team looks best, is when Rivers can hit a couple of big deep balls and Gordon can grind out the clock. That's when they look at their best. I think they'll just try and stop that being the case. So expect both teams to look somewhat similar in terms of how they attack the game from a defensive perspective. I like the ability of the Chargers to have a lot of time to make those big plays down the field, which I don't think is going to be the case on the opposite end. Of course, Keenan Allen's going to be, for me, the focal point of the passing game. But I think you've always got to look for key matchups with Travis Benjamin. I think use him all over the field. Try and find the matchups you like. If you can get him one-on-one and you've got the safeties maybe coming up to try and stop Gordon if he's having success, that's when you can look to strike, particularly if it's McCourty coming up. Because Patrick Chung down the field, I don't trust his coverage as much. I don't think you want to test Butler too much. But again, move guys around, get matchups you like, try and take advantage. And once again, you're playing the Patriots, just don't beat yourselves. Rivers has had a penchant for turnovers these last few years, and if the Patriots can generate heat, and I think that they're going to try to, I think we're going to see a bit more blitzing from them, with a shell behind, but I think that opens up the middle of the field, and that's where I think Keenan Allen and these two tight ends can have a big impact in the game. But I think that the Pats will trust their guys to rally, and they'll try and force Rivers into some mistakes. I think if Rivers plays a good disciplined game, they'll have a lot of success. I think Gordon will have his yardage. How much, I'm not so sure. If the Chargers can block things up in the run game, I think they'll have a really good day on the offensive side. For the Patriots, for me, the key is how much rush can they generate. However they have to do it, I think they're going to have to be able to get something on Rivers, because otherwise I just think he's going to carve this secondary apart with all the guys that he's got. In terms of how I see this game going, that's a tough one. I am really, really high on the Chargers right now, and I'm going to go for them to pull the upset. The Patriots offense has been good, but it's not quite been the high-flying force that we saw early in the season, and I just feel like the matchup here, I like the Chargers matchups. I like the way they're playing at the moment. I think they're the more desperate team. I think the Chargers make a real statement here that this team has recovered from that terrible start, and that they might be able to salvage this season and be a threat to make the playoffs. But it's always tough to pick against Pats. But I'm keeping the faith. I just think they'll be able to make a couple of really big plays in this game. On the defensive side, I think Rivers will have an efficient game, and the quality of players on the Chargers defence as opposed to the Patriots defence ends up being the difference. I think Hightower being missing is going to be a big adjustment for this Patriots team, and trusting the Chargers in this one, although I'm not enormously confident in it. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on this one. Let us know, what do you guys think? How do you see this matchup going? As always, you've got the comment section below, the Cover Zero Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. Always happy to talk football. If you enjoyed this, check out more of the show. If you like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon, that'd be great. We've got the round table each week, me and a couple of mates talking about all the games that happened and are upcoming. More game reviews, previews. There'll be a bunch of interesting stuff up for mid-season, so I'd really appreciate if you could check all that stuff out. And as always, really am grateful to you guys for watching. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure as always. Have a great evening, and go Bucks.